Hey everyone, Richard here. Just wanted to give a quick update on some projects and give you a little reading snippet of my upcoming book, The Price of Honor. So this is set in the Dragon Riders of Ozzen world, and it's a prequel about 200 years or so before the events of the main storyline. It's a one-off. It's just going to be a single book, not a series. I'm just going to do some, one-off stories like this that will be essentially prequels, if you will, but they'll just be one-off stories that will tell a whole contained story within one book versus, long-spanning series. Um, and this one is set in the Kingdom of Terran, where at this time, women are not allowed to be dragon riders. And if you know the story of Mulan, I'm basically calling this Mulan meets Aragon. So similar, trope, I guess you could say. But the similarity is about that is that's about it as far as similarity is that a girl pretends to be a boy to join the Dragon Riders. There's so many twists in the story that I think you all enjoy. So the book is done. It's in editing phase right now, and it is a full-length novel. So it'll be 5 to 6 hours long, audiobook format. I am still searching for a narrator. I've reached out to a couple people. They're either too busy to take the project on, or they're not responding. So don't know if they're still in the business or not. But um, with this book done, I am jumping back into the main timeline of Dragon Riders of Oznin. And I'm going to write at least 5 more books following Eldrin and Marin. And some of the things that I left not necessarily unresolved, but just kind of hanging in there at the end of the series, like the person who's responsible for the dragon bone flutes, as well as some things that kind of got some ideas for that were not in the, existing in the series already, some plot things that will be happening. The title for book 11 is going to be The Song of Bones. So I'm sure you can kind of gather what that title means. And after those 5 books, I think I'm going to jump over to Galactic Mercenaries and write another 3 books for that series. We'll see. I mean, my plans can kind of change depending on, the creative whim. So there is a friend of mine who runs a publishing company. She wants to publish a series of mine, and she's open to any ideas I have. So I'm also going to try to fit that in this year. I have a vague idea for that. It's really just a title and a vibe more than anything. And it's going to be called The Dragon Lords. So we'll see. I gotta kind of ruminate on that idea and get a plot and whatnot together. So but those are my plans. I do have 15 books on my schedule for this year. Whether or not I will be able to write them all, that remains to be seen. But I do have ambitious plans for this year. So book 1 for this year of the 15 is done. Like I said, it's called The Price of Honor. And I'll just read the blurb or the description for you as well. And you can kind of get a feel for that. And then I'll read the first chapter. It will be professionally narrated. Like I said, I'm not going to narrate it myself. I'm not a pro. I'm sure you guys are enjoying the weekly videos of me and PD Mac doing our readings from the book of the series that we co-wrote. But like I said, we're not pros. So I'm sure you've heard us mess up a couple times here and there. And so it comes with that. But the book, like I said, is done. Going through final edits. I am waiting on my illustrator to get me the artwork. I think you're gonna love it. He's done artwork for Wizards of the Coast for Magic the Gathering and some other, gaming and things like that, card games and stuff. He's super talented. I'm excited to be working with him. With that said, he is a lot more expensive than the artist I was using. So I don't remember if I told you guys in any of my previous videos, but the artist I had been using, who did all 10 of the Dragon Riders of Oz covers and all 3 of the 4 covers for the Marked by the Dragon series, he was unable to do any more work for me after the 3rd book in that series. That series was supposed to be just a trilogy, and it turned into 4 books. So when I came back to him for the 4th one, he was like, sorry, I'm not able to do any more work. So I had to find a new artist who could match that style and replicate those characters. And I think he did a great job on book 4. He got the characters, and the dragons looked great. You've seen the cover if you listen to the book on here. So I think he did great. So I'll be going back to him to try to get the rest of the series, the next 5 for this series I'm working on. But for this one book, I am super passionate about Asian culture, specifically Japanese culture. As a baby, I lived in Japan, and I don't really remember anything about living there, but I think that time there maybe ingrained, into my memories. But I love Asian culture, and if you have listened to the series, you can probably tell that by the Taiwanese culture in that book, which is modeled after Japan. And so this book is set in that series, in that kingdom, and it is before the kingdom was, I guess, at the time of this book that I just wrote, it's an empire. Terran is an empire. They have an emperor. The Dragon Rider School in Terran is part of the schooling as far as like Osnan and the school in the mountains with the Viking culture. They're all connected still. They're connected, but at this point in time, the Terranese empire kind of rules that school. They dictate, if they're in the army or not, and everything. So it's very different than the current timeline. And I wanted to just explore that kingdom a little bit and kind of show you, some world building, how things changed and things like that. And I love the story of Mulan, even though, it's not from Japan, it's from China, but it is Asian culture. And like I said, I love Asian culture. So I obviously did a lot of reading and research on Japanese culture and things. And if you didn't know, in the main series, the creature in book 9 is a Japanese demon of sorts. So yeah, I think my love for that culture shines through. So I'll just read the description for the book that's coming, and then I will read the first chapter. First chapter is polished, so no more changes to that. So it is what I read will be in the book. Here's the blurb. Some rules are meant to be broken. Leilani has always known that being a woman means that she will never be a dragon rider, but when a messenger shows up demanding all dragon riders must prepare for war, Leilani knows that her father's crippling illness will get him killed. She must choose between 2 paths: let him go and die, or put on his armor and go in his place. Disguising herself as a boy, she joins the dragon riders and finds herself facing danger at every turn. With her father's dragon the only friend she can trust, Leilani must learn to be a warrior and fight to save her homeland, if she can keep her secret that long. So I hope that excites you, because this is, of every book I've written, and I've written over 30 at this point, this is my favorite book that I've done, hands down. And I think it's because I got to explore the Asian culture within the world I created. So I love this book. So with that said, chapter 1. Leilani walked barefoot across the sand, watching the waves crash upon the shore. She loved the sound the water made. It was soothing, peaceful. Grit gathered between her toes, but she didn't mind. It wasn't often that she could go without shoes, and she enjoyed the moment of freedom. Ahead, a jagged rock formation protruded up from the smooth sand, revealing a sea cave. The waves lapped at its base, feeding a small pool. Leilani paused to look at the water, judging the level of the tide. It was low, which was what she had hoped for. The sky was clear, and the sun shone brightly on the water's surface. It was a beautiful day for a ride. Leilani stepped through the pool and looked into the dark entrance of the cave that was carved into the rock. She didn't know how long it had existed on the island, but she knew Dago was glad it did. He'd called it home for as long as she'd been alive. She entered the cave and picked up a loose stone from the floor, then tapped it against the wall. The sound echoed into the darkness until it eventually faded. She waited for a moment, then repeated the tapping. Dago stirred in the darkness. She could hear his wings stretching and the scrape of his talons on the stone floor as he approached. "You're late." His words resonated within her mind. "Sorry," she replied. "I had to finish my chores first." Dago was her father's dragon, but she spent the most time with him. Her father's arthritis had debilitated him, and since he could no longer ride, she took it upon herself to ensure the dragon left his cave each day. "Completing your duties is important. It teaches responsibility. That's what father always says. You would do well to take his lessons to heart. He's a wise man." "Doesn't your name mean wise?" Dago chortled. "It means enlightenment, but close enough." They walked side by side, away from the cave and onto the beach. Dago's massive claws left deep impressions in the sand, and they quickly filled with water. His scales were a vibrant cobalt hue, and when the light hit them at just the right angle, they seemed to glow with fluorescent rainbows. She hadn't seen many dragons in her short lifespan, but she believed he was the most regal of them all. Leilani often dreamed of becoming a dragon guard, but it was forbidden to her. It wasn't her father that forbade her, but the law of the land. Only men could bond with dragons. She didn't think it was fair, but as long as she had Dago's companionship, she was happy. While dragons could only bond with one person, they could communicate with any human they chose, and Leilani counted it a great honor that Dago allowed her to ride on his back, let alone speak to her. "Where shall we fly today?" "I was thinking about that before you arrived, and I know just the place." Leilani waited for him to continue, but he said nothing. "Well, patience, small one. Climb on and I'll show you. It's a surprise." A grin spread across her lips as she grabbed onto his shoulder and climbed up onto his back. She sat between his shoulder blades and pressed her knees tightly against the base of his neck. "I'm ready." Dago lowered himself like a cat about to pounce, then leaped into the air. He flapped his powerful wings, lifting them steadily higher until they were soaring over the Sea of Collisle. Leilani looked back and saw the shore growing smaller. They lived on the perched cay, just one of a few islands that were clustered together several miles from the mainland. She could see them all from her vantage point, and the view was breathtaking. Leilani turned her attention forward, tried to guess where Dago was taking her. She spotted a thick mist hanging over the water below. "What's that?" she asked. "The mists of morning. Never go there." "Why not?" "It is where the dead go to find rest." Leilani shrank back, tracing a warding symbol in the air. She wanted nothing to do with the spirits of the dead. They flew along the mist line and continued further out to sea. There was nothing but water in every direction, and it stretched as far as she could see. "I think this is the farthest I've been from home." "How does that make you feel?" Dago asked. "I'm not sure. I like seeing new places, but there's something comforting about the familiar." "You have lived your entire life on the Perch Cay, but it is only a sliver of the world. There are a great many things to see outside of the island. Your father and I used to travel all over the mainland." "What was it like?" "If we were bonded, I could show you my memories and let you experience them for yourself. Alas, words will have to do. Those days were good. We had many adventures and fought many enemies together." "My father's sword rests beside the hearth in our house." "And his armor?" "He keeps it in his room, though I doubt he could still fit into it. I think he used to be smaller back then." "He was," Dago said. "Time and food tend to make humans plump." Leilani giggled in response. They spent hours gliding over the sea, and Dago related stories of her father's days at the Tyranny school, including how the two of them had met. She knew the story of how her father had bonded with Dago, but it never grew old no matter how many times she heard it. They were heading home as he related the tale, and she listened intently despite knowing it so well. "Your father was a quiet man. He joined the school to learn the ways of war so that he could earn the money needed to take care of his parents. They suffered from the same illness that he has now, and they weren't able to harvest their crops. He was strong and stubborn, and once he was admitted as a student, he had trouble matching with a dragon." Until he found you, Leilani said. Yes, I saw past his rough exterior and knew that bonding with him would be good for both of us. He was about to be forced from the school and I offered to bond with him. He agreed, and over time, he proved me right. That he wasn't so rough? Indeed, he may seem that way, but deep down, he has a soft heart. She knew that was true. Her father often went out of his way to help others in need, even if it meant he would go without. As the perched K came into view, Leilani spotted a group of dark clouds traveling swiftly across the sky. Do you see that? She asked. I see them. Them? Dragons with their riders. 5 of them. Excitement flashed through her. She leaned forward, squinting to make out their details. They were still too far away, but she saw they were descending. They broke formation, and each dragon wheeled down toward a different island. What do you suppose they are doing? We shall find out soon enough. Dago began his own descent to the island, and they landed gently on the beach. Leilani leaped off the dragon's back and sprinted across the sand, stopping momentarily to wave at the dragon. Thank you for the flight. I'll let you know what I find out. Very good, little one. She ran as fast as she could, weaving between trees and rocks, excitement driving her onward, even as her lungs burned within her chest. The jungle opened up to a large flat field where the town was located. The dragon she'd seen was on the outskirts, but she noticed a crowd had gathered in the center of town. Her father was there, as were her friends Kalia and Hiao. She joined the 2 men. They smiled at her, sharing her excitement at the visitor. What did I miss? Leilani asked. Nothing. He just got here. Leilani peered through the press of bodies and got a glimpse of the rider. He was wearing a full suit of armor, his helmet tucked under his arm. The mask of the helmet was painted with a demonic face, its eyes burning with anger. His black boots gleamed with fresh polish, and a sword was strapped to his waist. The man's air of importance intrigued Leilani. Citizens of the Perched K, I come bearing a message from the Emperor. Conversations died, and the man swept his gaze across the crowd. War is coming. The Rorans have crossed the border, killing and destroying all in their path. The Emperor is calling all retired riders back into service, effective immediately. You will have the rest of the day to settle your affairs, and you are to report to the school in the morning. If you are unfit for battle, you must send your son in your place. If you do not have a son, then you will report regardless. Leilani's heart dropped into her stomach. Her father couldn't fight. He could barely walk most days, and she was only his only child. A lump formed in her throat, and she looked at her friends. Their expressions were serious. What will my father do? She asked. He can't go to war. Neither can ours, Hiao said. Looks like we'll be going in their place, Kalia added, sharing a look with Hiao. Her father and Dago were all the family she had. If they were gone, she would have nobody, especially if her friends had to leave. There had to be another option, a way to keep her father from going. Leilani's world was crashing around her. And that's chapter 1. So hopefully you're as excited about this book as I am. It is coming to audio. As I said, I'm looking for a narrator. I'm waiting on the cover art. So I have a tentative publishing date of March, sometime next month. That depends on the artwork and everything. The ebook will go out first because, as you know, audio takes a little bit of time. So once the narrator is nailed down, hopefully it won't be long after that, but we'll see how it goes. So I will be doing a Kickstarter for this book. I've already, I'm covering the cost of the book production, the cover, the editing, and all that. I'm obviously I'm paying for all that. So the Kickstarter will just be to kind of help give it a little push out the door as far as print. So I will be doing a paperback and a hardback, both, assuming the Kickstarter funds. So just to be transparent, the artwork is going to be $800. That's a lot more than I normally pay for my books. But the artist is great. Like I said, this is probably the best book I've written, my favorite book that I've written, and I want the cover to just be awesome, mind-blowing. So I'm willing to pay top dollar for that, and have it eye-catching, and ideally draw people in who have not discovered my books before. So so obviously that's pretty steep for me. And then audiobooks are just as expensive. So The audiobook is looking to be, like I said, between 5 and 6 hours. So depending on the narrator that I find and what kind of rate they charge, um, the audiobook will cost me anywhere from $600 to $1,200. And I'm anticipating it being on the high end, 1,000 to 1,200, just because in order to get quality narrator, you got to pay more because they're not, they're using their voice and it costs a lot of money. So I am looking, and I'm hoping to release the audiobook not long after the ebook. We'll see. But like I said, I'm going to fund all that out of pocket, and the Kickstarter will be to help kind of pay that back a little bit, and hopefully the book won't be a loss. The ebook, when it launches, it will be 99 cents for a limited time before it jumps up to $3.99. So I'll be sure to let you guys know on here if you want to grab the ebook before the audio comes out. 99 cents, like I said, it'll be for about 3 weeks probably. I'll probably run that price for a couple weeks before bumping it up. So I also will, send a newsletter out. So if you're not signed up to my newsletter, and you want to know when I release new books, whether it's on YouTube or ebooks in general, go ahead and sign up on there, and you'll stay in the know. I also have a Facebook page. You can follow my author page on there. I do try to update everything equally. So obviously videos on YouTube every week. I don't post as often on my Facebook page as I used to, because YouTube's kind of taken the place of that. But I am on multiple things. So I have Twitter, I have Facebook, YouTube here, and I'm about to launch a TikTok profile as well. So it'll just be book related stuff, talking about books that I'm reading, books that I'm writing, promoting my own books on there as well. So once I have my TikTok up, I'll let you guys know the handle for that if you want to follow me. So yeah, I got a lot of plans. Like I said, 15 books. So we'll see. It's ambitious plans, but I think I will get pretty close to that. Last year I was kind of suffering from burnout, and I only put out 6 books last year, which sounds like, oh, 6, that's a lot. Yeah, it is. But the year before, 2020, I put out 12. I published 12 books. So when I have my focus, I can get it done pretty quickly. So like I said, the Price of Honor is done. I'm just doing some edits and stuff. And then when I get the artwork, I'm going to launch the Kickstarter and go from there. And then the audiobook hopefully will be soon after. And then I'm jumping into, I started the first chapter of the Song of Bones the other day. So actually, when I'm done with this video, I'm going to go try to get some words down. So look forward to more Eldwin and Marin's adventures coming. I'm pretty excited to get back into their world and write those stories. And honestly excited for everything I have planned for this year. So I think that's it. So if you stayed and listened to the whole video, thank you. You got to experience chapter 1 of my next book. And you'll see my video next week with Doug and I's author reading. So thank you guys, and see you next time.